Rocksmith is all about RTPCs. So whether you're in session mode, whether you're in tone designer, no matter where you are in the game, what we did is basically just hook up all of the engine of Wise to have RTPCs connected to it. And what Rocksmith does is basically constantly turn those knobs. So let's say you're in Tone Designer, right? In Tone Designer, you literally have an amp that you're looking at. You literally have knobs. All of those knobs connect to an RTPC, which then connect to one parameter or a series of parameters in the effects that Wise offers to end up creating that sound. So you could have, let's say, a Marshall amp, and you could have the gain parameter. Well, maybe gain increases the distortion on the Wise Distortion plugin. Not just that, maybe it also decreases the actual volume so that when you're turning up distortion, it doesn't blow out the master channel.
Talk about some of the other RTPCs you use
in Saints 4 in particular, we used an RTPC for our superpowers, our super jump, as well as our super sprint. Aspects, we used a lot of that RTPC. In fact, we used it a bunch for ducking. Whenever you super sprinted, we would have attenuation on the pedestrian ambience, city ambience, so it would really allow you to focus on the sprinting sound effect aspects of it. There was also a point where we used that same RTPC for interactive music, so whenever you, say, did a super jump, you would super jump in the air and that would trigger certain stingers at a certain time, as well as put LPFs and fade in and fade outs on certain music tracks. So whenever you didn't have your radio on, you could hear your interactive music happening there. So.
Talk a little about filters.
Filters in terms of just LPF, or?
Yeah.
In terms of filters, the majority of our filters that we use, I would say the most common one is the LPF, and that's built into Wise. And we used a lot of differentiation between near and far variations. Like, let's say there was an explosion. Typically, the meat of your explosion would be an up-close variation, and that would have no filters, no LPF on it. And when you got further away, you'd have a lot more LPF, and it would sound distant. You'd have your distant variant. But the bulk of our filters were used in VO, and we did a combination of both baking them in to the VO, as well as using Wise Fuzzbox, as well as other filters that they had available, just so we could change the voice in real time. So.
Example for you. Okay, so another example from Peggle for an RTPC use would be, as you're playing the game, the number of balls that you have left to fire out of the cannon decreases, and we have an RTPC attached to the number of balls decreasing so that we can see and change our sounds according to what's happening over that time. And the balls decreasing is reflective of the game intensity increasing, because as a player you're running out of what you need to be successful. And so I tried to have, and everybody on the team tried to have, the sounds reflect that intensity change. And having this RTPC allowed us to do things like have the ambient environment increase when the number of balls decrease. So all of a sudden the birds around you are freaking out, and whatever is weird that's in there is freaking out as well as you get more and more nervous. So it's another tool in Peggle 2 at least to allow us to increase tension interactively.
So RTPCs really play heavily in Lichdom Battle Mage. We have a pretty complex spell system that through augments and through crafting, you can lengthen or shorten charge times, cooldowns, things like that. So I set up most of our spell sounds, our charge sounds especially, using RTPCs and layers and blend containers, so that no matter how design scales a warm-up time from 1 second to 10 seconds, my sounds will always work, never have to be re-implemented, never have to be recreated. So I can set these up so that they're easily scalable within the design system.